Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our brand new podcast, the Line Pride Sports Podcast. Basically, in this podcast, we're going to go over anything that has happened in the past week and upcoming week in Gravette Sports. My name is Brody Bohannon.
I'm Pierce Elsey.
And we are excited to bring you this first episode. So first, we're going to go over volleyball. And last week on Thursday, they played against Berryville and picked up their first win in a 3-0 sweep.
And it was total domination.
Gravette did an amazing job. They played really well, and they took the momentum and ran away with it. Just what they needed to do, as they struggled with that against Prairie Grove on Tuesday. But they did a really good job picking that up and getting the win. Today, as we're recording this on Tuesday, they head to Green Forest. That should be a big win, as Green Forest hasn't been the best at volleyball in the past, and I think Gravette takes momentum from Berryville and just carries it on through the week.
Yeah, I think they had a good win against Berryville, and you said what? Green Forest has only won 5 sets last year?
Yeah.
So I think they'll carry on the momentum and win this game, and I think it should be a sweep.
And on Thursday, they head to Huntsville, which should also be a win in my opinion. I think Gravette has dominated Huntsville in volleyball for years, and I think that continues this year, as we would have won, assuming we beat Green Forest. That would be 2 wins in a row. Carry on that momentum, and I think we'll be just fine against Huntsville too.
Yeah, we were talking about last week in the podcast that we didn't get to post. They're a young team, but I feel like they're starting to figure it out, and I think they'll keep rolling through this week and through the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The leaders have stepped up big time, like Ella Pinches and Laney Chilton. They've been doing a good job of leading this young team, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do this year. They will be able to do very big things, following in the footsteps of last year's team. We're going to go into cross country now. They have their first meet today at NWAC, and on Thursday they have a meet at Shiloh. So there's not really much to talk about since cross country hasn't had a meet yet. But from my understanding, we should be dominant, just as we've been the past 2 years with back-to-back state championships.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, you lost one of your best runners, Julia Wharton, but you also still have Kira Ralph, Celia Shinoda, a bunch of those girls that are experienced, and I think they'll be just fine this year.
Mm-hmm. Both the girls' team and the boys' team, who has been just racking themselves up with talent. I think they finished 3rd in state last year, and I think that they're better than they were last year. So I think that the boys' team can also win state possibly. Our cross country teams both this year. I think they're going to have a really big opportunity to do big things and come home with some hardware.
The boys' team was very young last year, and I think that they're getting more experienced, bringing back Cutter Franks, Michael Batt. I think they'll be just fine this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely so. Now we're going to move on to golf. They did not have a match last week, but on Thursday they have one at Sugar Creek. Our girls' team won the state championship 2 years ago and finished 3rd last year. And I think the boys' team now has their experience. They were super young last year. Now they got more experience, and both the boys and the girls' teams have a really good chance to do well again in state. I think our golf will be just fine this season. Possibly 2 district championships.
Possibly 2 state championships.
Possibly. Really excited to see what our golf teams have in store this year. Obviously, the girls are led by Tegan Muldoon, and the boys have, Drake Madison and Hale Stamps, both 2 outstanding sophomores. And
they got a new player, Landon Kaufman. He shot a 42 last week?
Yeah, only been golfing for like 7-8 months.
He's going to be a problem. He's going to be really good.
He's definitely a stud for only playing for half a year. And now to our final sport we're going to be talking about is football. Last week, Gravette traveled to Pea Ridge with high expectations. This was their revenge game for what Pea Ridge did to them last year, and boy, did they get their revenge. They came out with the win 26-6. Gabe Holmes had 238 rushing yards, and Gravette, I think, had 316 total yards of offense. They absolutely dominated the game, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, I feel like we came in with a chip on our shoulder, really, after losing 38-14 last year. I feel like that the senior group that we have coming back, like knew that we were going to win this game. They knew that we needed to win this game to start off on the right foot, and let's just say we don't have good history with P Ridge, so we really wanted to win this game.
Gravette hadn't beat P Ridge since 2015 up to that point, and they haven't started off 1-0 since 2017. So this is a historically good win for Gravette, and I think that they could definitely carry on the momentum into their game this week. They travel to Oklahoma to face the Bulldogs in their brand new stadium. They will be the inaugural game in Bulldog Stadium. It's a beautiful facility, just finished maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. So I'm excited to play in it and experience that atmosphere. But Jay had a struggling loss last week to Adair, losing 40-14. But Jay is not a bad team. They're not a team to overlook. They have some athletes.
Yeah, their quarterback, actually, number 7, number 10.
Number 7 can play quarterback.
Number 7 can play. He's a straight athlete. He's the guy that you don't want to be the only guy left to tackle him, because he'll make a move, score a touchdown, because he's super athletic and he can make big plays.
Jay with their quarterback number 10 and receiver number 7. They were the dynamic duo last week, and they have the opportunity to make some big plays. They're going to like to run some RPOs a lot and some double moves on screens. So Gravette's secondary is going to have to be on their toes, because Jay loves their double moves.
You know, Jay's O-line kind of reminds me of P Ridge's. They're very physical up front. It's not in size like P Ridge, but they are very physical up front. They won't be afraid to punch you in the mouth.
So the last time Gravette started off 2-0 was 2011. That's how long it's been since Gravette has won their first 2 games.
13 years.
That's 13 years.
You know, I also feel like that Jay's going to come out with a chip on their shoulder. You know, they lost by a lot in their first game, but it's their inaugural game at their new stadium, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of people there. They're going to love the atmosphere and come out with momentum because of how many people are there to watch them.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a showdown. We are super excited to see what happens on Friday night. Speaking of Friday night, this is a GHS TV show, so make sure to tune in to Gravette Game Day Live starting at 6. We'll talk about everything you need to know about the game and what's going on inside the 4A1. It'll be hosted by Cashmay, who is also on this podcast, but just isn't here today. He's feeling a little sick. And Aiden, who's sitting over there, will also be on that show.
Before we end the podcast, I just want to say a fun fact. Coach Wagner, our new offensive coordinator, and Coach Bohannon, our head coach, both used to coach at Jay.
2011 to 2015 is when they were both there. So it's going to be excited. Jay's first ever game in the stadium is against 2 former Jay coaches.
You know,
they be a good showdown.
Used to be a rivalry. Gravette and Jay, they've been playing each other
for years. And it stopped in 2019, and then this is the first year they're bringing it back. So we got, I guess it isn't a rivalry game at the level it was back then, but just starting to come back, and it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm excited to see what happens. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Lion Pride Sports Podcast, and we hope to see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.